The emergency klaxons blared throughout outpost horizon, the flashing red lights casting eerie shadows across Dr. Elena Reyes's laboratory. Her hands trembled as she secured her research samples, precious microorganisms collected from the gas giant below that might hold the key to revolutionary medical treatments. "Attention all personnel," the station AI announced with artificial calm. "Unidentified vessels approaching. This is not a drill. Proceed to emergency stations immediately." Elena cursed under her breath. 6 months of careful experimentation, and now this. The frontier of human space exploration came with risks, but attacks on scientific outposts were rare. She sealed the last of her cultures and initiated the emergency preservation protocol before heading for the door. The corridor outside shuddered violently, throwing Elena against the wall. The lights flickered and died, leaving only the dim emergency strips to guide her way. Another impact rocked the station, and this time she heard the unmistakable sound of tearing metal. "Hull breach in Section 7, the AI reported, its voice now distorted. Emergency containment failing. Evacuate immediately." Section 7, that was just 2 corridors away. Elena ran toward the evacuation pods, but hesitated when she heard something unexpected amid the chaos, a guttural growl that sounded nothing like human pain. Curiosity overrode her fear. She was a xenobiologist, after all, the unknown called to her. Following the sound, Elena found herself at the entrance to the hydroponics bay. The door was partially crushed, and through the gap, she could see something large and wounded. Not human. Not even remotely humanoid. The creature had iridescent scales covering powerful limbs, and its torso divided into segmented plates that now oozed a phosphorescent blue liquid. Four amber eyes focused on Elena with startling intelligence, and a ridge of spines along its back rose in warning or fear, she couldn't tell which. "I'm not going to hurt you," Elena said softly, knowing her words meant nothing but hoping her tone might convey her intent. The creature growled again, revealing rows of sharp teeth, but made no move to attack. Instead, it pressed a clawed hand against its side where the blue fluid flowed most heavily. Elena's medical training kicked in. "You're injured. Let me help." Ignoring all safety protocols and common sense, she squeezed through the damaged door and approached slowly. The alien's breathing was labored, its chest heaving in a rhythm oddly similar to human respiration. Up close, Elena could see that the blue fluid must be its blood, and it was losing too much of it. As another explosion rocked the station, the alien's eyes widened. It lunged forward, not to attack but to shield Elena as debris fell from the ceiling. The protective gesture surprised her more than the attack on the station. "Thank you," she whispered, retrieving her medical kit. "Now let me return the favor." The alien watched with wary fascination as Elena prepared a universal coagulant, one of her own inventions designed to work across different carbon-based physiologies. As she gently applied it to the wound, the creature relaxed slightly. "I'm Elena," she said, tapping her chest. "Doctor. Healer." The alien mimicked the gesture, placing a clawed hand carefully against its own chest. "Thora," it rumbled, the sound somehow formed despite its alien mouth structure. "Warrior." Elena's eyes widened. The creature could speak, or at least mimic human speech. This wasn't just a wounded animal, this was a sentient being from another world. "Thora," Elena repeated, a smile forming despite their dire circumstances. "Nice to meet you. Now let's get us both out of here alive." The makeshift medical bay aboard the rescue vessel hummed with activity as Elena carefully changed the dressing on Thora's wound. 2 weeks had passed since their narrow escape from Outpost Horizon, and the alien warrior was healing remarkably fast. "Your cellular regeneration rate is fascinating," Elena murmured, examining the injury site where new scales were already forming. "On Earth, reptiles can regrow limbs, but nothing like this." Thora's head tilted in that peculiar way Elena had come to recognize as amusement. Not reptile, she corrected, her grasp of human language improving daily. Kora. Ancient warriors of the void. Elena smiled. Sorry for the comparison. Xenobiologists have a bad habit of looking for Earth parallels. The rescue ship was bound for Arcturus Station, the nearest major human outpost, where authorities were still trying to determine who had attacked Horizon and why. Until then, Elena had been assigned to monitor the aliens' recovery and learn what she could about this previously unknown species. Today you teach more? Thora asked, carefully sitting upright. Her amber eyes followed Elena's movements with unwavering attention. If you'd like. Though I think it's your turn to teach me, Elena replied, setting aside her medical equipment. These cultural exchange sessions had become the highlight of her days, a welcome distraction from the loss of her research and the uncertainty of her future. Thora's spines rippled in what Elena had learned was a sign of agreement. The Kora hunt in 3-cycle pattern, she began, using her claws to draw invisible patterns in the air. First cycle for knowledge, second for strength, third for honor. Elena recorded the information on her tablet. Like our scientific method, in a way. Observation, experimentation, conclusion. Yes. Thora's excitement was evident in the brightening of her scales. You understand. Many cycles, we thought humans only hunt for possession. Not understanding. The alien warrior reached for a pouch attached to the bed and withdrew a small object, a crystalline structure that caught the light in mesmerizing patterns. This is Kaltar. Memory stone. Warriors carry to remember fallen huntmates. She offered it to Elena, who accepted it carefully. The stone felt warm, almost vibrating against her palm. It's beautiful, Elena whispered. We have similar traditions. Photos, keepsakes, memorials. Not just beauty, Thora explained, gently guiding Elena's fingers to press specific points on the crystal. Memory. The stone glowed brighter, and suddenly Elena's mind filled with images, vast plains under twin moons, creatures with flowing tentacles grazing on crystalline formations, and Kora warriors moving in perfect coordination during what appeared to be a ceremonial hunt. Oh! Elena gasped, nearly dropping the stone as the vision faded. That's incredible. Direct neural interface technology? Thora's spines flattened in what Elena had learned was equivalent to a shrug. Old magic. New science. Same meaning. Elena returned the memory stone with newfound respect. Thank you for sharing that with me. Kaltar only shared with clan, Thora said quietly. With family. The implication wasn't lost on Elena, who felt a sudden warmth spread through her chest. Despite their drastic differences, they'd formed a connection that transcended species. Perhaps it was their shared experience of survival, or maybe something more fundamental, a recognition of kindred spirits across the cosmic divide. I'm honored, Elena replied, genuinely moved. She hesitated, then reached for her personal tablet. In return, I'd like to show you something of Earth. She called up images of the Pacific Ocean at sunset, the rainforests of Brazil teeming with life, the snow-capped mountains of New Zealand. Thora watched with rapt attention, her scales shifting through colors that Elena suspected reflected emotional responses. Your world very wet, Thora observed, drawing a laugh from Elena. Yes, about 71% water. I'm guessing yours is different? Thora nodded. Kora home has great deserts, sky rivers, crystal forests. But much destroyed in the Great Burning. Her voice took on a somber tone that needed no translation. Elena recognized the universal language of loss. What happened? She asked gently. Ancient war. Not Kora fault, not Kora enemy fault. Star weapons too powerful. Thora's claws curled into fists. Now Kora wander. Find new places. Protect what remains. Elena placed her hand carefully over Thora's clenched fist, a gesture that would have seemed unthinkable weeks ago. Now it felt natural, necessary. I'm sorry. Earth has had its share of wars too. We almost destroyed ourselves more than once. Thora uncurled her claws and, with surprising gentleness, interlaced them with Elena's fingers. Different worlds. Same stories, she said softly. Maybe different futures together. Outside the viewpoint, stars streaked by as the ship continued its journey to Arcturus station. Two beings from worlds light years apart sat in comfortable silence, united by understanding that required no translation. Admiral Marcus Blackwell's face on the viewscreen exuded practiced calm, but Elena could see the tension in his jaw. Dr. Reyes, I need you to understand the gravity of the situation. We have 3 Kora warships holding position just outside weapons range. Elena glanced at Thora, who stood tall beside her in the Arcturus station conference room. In the month since their arrival, the alien warrior had recovered fully and become an unofficial ambassador for her people. Now, it seemed, her actual people had found them. They're not here for war, Thora insisted, her voice carrying the distinctive harmonic undertones of her native language. Seeking me. Clan search only. Then why the warships? Blackwell demanded. Kora always travel ready, Thora replied simply. Many dangers in void. Elena stepped forward. Admiral, I believe Thora. The Kora are a warrior culture, but that doesn't mean they're hostile. Think of them as Spartans in space. Always prepared, but they follow a strict honor code. Blackwell's expression softened slightly. Your reports on Kora culture have been enlightening, Doctor, but Starfleet Command remains concerned. Especially since we still don't know who attacked Outpost Horizon. A flash of blue crossed Thora's scales, anger, Elena had learned. Not Kora attack, she growled. Dishonorable. No warning, no challenge. I believe you, Elena said quickly, placing a calming hand on Thora's arm. The scales beneath her fingers warmed at the touch. But we need to convince everyone else. Blackwell sighed. I'm authorizing a diplomatic meeting. Small delegation only. Dr. Reyes, given your unique relationship with our Kora guest, you'll join the diplomatic team. After the Admiral signed off, Thora turned to Elena, her 4 amber eyes searching Elena's face. Clan comes. Matriarch Cathal herself, Thora said, her voice unusually subdued. Will ask me return. Oh. Elena felt a sudden hollowness in her chest. Of course Thora would return to her people. What had she expected? That an alien warrior would choose to stay with her, a human scientist she'd known for barely 2 months? You not want me go? Thora asked, her head tilting in that questioning gesture Elena had grown so fond of. I want what's best for you, Elena replied diplomatically, though the words tasted bitter. Your clan must have been worried. Thora stepped closer, the heat from her body radiating against Elena's skin. Elena not understand. Clan will ask return. Will also ask, claim bond. Claim bond? Strongest warriors take claimmates. Show strength through protection. Great honor. Thora's scales shifted to a deep purple, embarrassment, perhaps? Matriarch will expect me claim strongest human as bondmate. Show alliance. Elena's heart skipped a beat. And who would that be? You, Thora said simply. You strongest human I know. Brave. Smart. Compassionate. Perfect claimmate. Elena blinked rapidly, trying to process this unexpected turn. Thora, I don't think Starfleet had an interspecies marriage in mind when they approved this diplomatic meeting. Not marriage, Thora corrected. Deeper. Souls joined through Kaltar ritual. 2 become clan bonded. She hesitated, her confidence faltering. If Elena wants. Before Elena could respond, the station's alert system chimed. Attention. Kora delegation shuttle requesting docking permission. All diplomatic personnel report to Bay 12. Thora's scales flickered with anxiety. Must decide. Clan expects answer. Tradition important. Elena took a deep breath. The rational, scientific part of her brain catalogued all the reasons this was a terrible idea: different species, different biologies, different worlds. But another part, the part that had felt the connection between them growing stronger each day, wasn't so easily dismissed. What happens if I say yes? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. You become Kora clan. I become your protector, your warrior. Thora's clawed hand gently cupped Elena's cheek. We face stars together. The docking bay alert sounded again, more insistent this time. And if I say no? Thora's scales dimmed. I return with clan. You continue human life. Both honor-bound to different paths. Elena closed her eyes, feeling the gentle pressure of Thora's hand against her face. Every logical argument said this was impossible, and yet the thought of watching Thora leave with her clan made her chest ache with a pain no medicine could cure. We'll figure it out, Elena said finally, opening her eyes to meet Thora's gaze. Together. Let's go meet your clan. As they walked toward the docking bay, Thora's scales glowed with an intensity Elena had never seen before, illuminating the corridor with a light that seemed to promise new possibilities across the stars. The Kora vessel Sunspear cut through space with predatory grace, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in hypnotic patterns. Elena watched through the observation deck's viewport, still adjusting to the slightly higher gravity and warmer temperature the Kora preferred. 2 weeks had passed since the diplomatic meeting on Arctura Station, 2 weeks of frantic preparations, tense negotiations, and one very heated argument with Admiral Blackwell when Elena had announced her decision to accompany Thora to the Kora homeworld as Earth's first official ambassador. Enjoying the view? The familiar harmonic rumble of Thora's voice sent a pleasant shiver down Elena's spine. It's beautiful, Elena replied, turning to face her companion. Different from human ships. More alive somehow. Thora's scales rippled with pleasure at the observation. Sunspear grown, not built. Crystal seed nurtured in void currents for 20 cycles before becoming vessel. She moved closer, her body radiating comforting heat in the already warm room. How fares Elena? Journey difficult? Elena smiled, appreciating Thora's concern. The past weeks had been challenging, learning Kora customs, adapting to their environment, and enduring the scrutiny of Matriarch Cathal, who remained skeptical of the human in their midst. I'm adjusting, Elena assured her. Your healing herbs helped with the gravity sickness. And the language lessons are going well. She demonstrated by carefully pronouncing a Kora greeting, the complex harmonics requiring muscles in her throat she'd never used before. Thora's eyes brightened with delight. Good sounds. Soon speak like true Kora. The door to the observation deck slid open, revealing Vextar, Thora's clutch sibling and the ship's weapons master. Unlike Thora's iridescent blue-green scales, Vextar's were a deep crimson, marking her higher rank within the clan's warrior hierarchy. Honored guests, Vextar addressed them in carefully practiced English. Matriarch requests presence. Approaching Kora home. Elena felt her pulse quicken. After weeks of travel, they were finally reaching their destination, the world Thora had shown her glimpses of through the memory stone. As they followed Vextar through the ship's organic corridors, Elena noticed other Kora warriors watching her with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright suspicion. While Matriarch Cathal had reluctantly accepted Elena's presence as a diplomatic necessity, many clan members remained wary of the first human to ever set foot on a Kora vessel. The command center was a circular chamber dominated by a three-dimensional holographic display showing their approach to a massive ringed planet orbiting a binary star system. Around the display stood 7 senior warriors, their scales adorned with intricate metallic patterns denoting rank and accomplishments. At the center stood matriarch Cathal herself, nearly twice Thora's size, her scales a deep midnight blue etched with silver. Her 8 eyes, twice the normal number, fixed on Elena with penetrating intensity. Human healer, the matriarch's voice resonated through the chamber. Witness your first sight of Kora, sacred homeworld of the clan. Elena stepped forward, awed by the planet's beauty. Unlike Earth, Kora was predominantly desert, with vast crystalline forests and ribbon-like rivers that seemed to float above the surface rather than cut through it. It's magnificent, she said sincerely. The matriarch made a gesture Elena had learned signified acknowledgement. Many cycles since outsiders walked Korathak soil. Greater honor, greater risk. Her gaze shifted to Thora. Clan Council watches. Will judge claim bond worthiness. Thora straightened, her posture displaying confidence despite her junior status among the assembled warriors. Claim is worthy. Bond is strong. Elena felt the weight of expectations pressing upon her. In the days since their arrival on the Sun Spear, Thora had explained more about the claim bond ritual, an ancient tradition that would not only join them as mates but create a spiritual connection through the Kaltar crystals. It was more than a political alliance, it was a lifelong commitment, one rarely offered to outsiders. Council requires proof, the matriarch continued. 3 trials before bonding permitted. Ancient ways. Thora nodded solemnly. We accept trials. Elena shot her a questioning look, but maintained her diplomatic composure. This was the first she'd heard of any trials. First trial begins at dawn, Cathal declared. Prepare yourselves. As the other warriors dispersed, Thora guided Elena back to their quarters, a spacious chamber decorated with mementos of Thora's past hunts and battles. You could have mentioned the trials, Elena said once they were alone, unable to keep a note of apprehension from her voice. Thora's spines flattened apologetically. Did not wish to worry Elena. Trials are challenging, but honorable. What kind of trials? Elena asked, sinking onto the heated stone slab that served as a Kora bed. 3 tests. Wisdom. Strength. Devotion. Thora sat beside her, warm scales brushing against Elena's arm. First trial tests knowledge of each other. Kaltar reveals truth. The memory stones? But we've already shared memories. Deeper sharing, Thora explained. Not just memories, essence, soul. Her voice dropped to a softer register. We'll see all of Elena. Elena will see all of Thora. No barriers. The gravity of what Thora was describing settled over Elena. Complete mental intimacy with an alien consciousness. The scientist in her was fascinated, the human in her was terrified. And the other trials? Second tests physical harmony, hunt together, fight together. Third. Thora hesitated, scales flushing purple. Third trial is private. Bond strengthening. Elena didn't need further explanation to understand the implication. Her cheeks warmed at the thought. Thora, I'm not a warrior. What if I fail these trials? What happens then? Thora's expression grew solemn. Failure means separation. I return to clan duties. You return to humans. She reached for Elena's hand, interlacing their fingers, 5 human digits with Thora's 6 clawed ones. But we will not fail. Through the viewport, Elena could see Korathak growing larger, its crystalline forests glittering in the binary star's light. Tomorrow they would stand on its surface, and their trials would begin. Whatever alien rituals awaited them, she knew one thing with certainty, the connection between them was worth fighting for, even across the stars. "Then we'd better prepare," Elena said, squeezing Thora's hand. "Tell me everything I need to know about these trials." As night fell across the ship, they spoke in hushed tones, two beings from different worlds preparing to prove that some bonds transcended the boundaries of species, biology, and the vast emptiness of space itself. The twin sons of Kora painted the crystalline council chamber in prismatic light as Elena and Thora stood side by side before the assembled Kora clan leaders. Elena's body still ached from the physical trials they had endured 3 days prior, a grueling hunt across the crystal forests for a predator that had tested both their individual strengths and their ability to work as one. But it was the first trial that had truly transformed them. The Kaltar memory sharing had been more profound than Elena could have imagined, a complete merging of minds that left no thought or feeling hidden. She had experienced Thora's entire life, the rigorous warrior training, the pain of losing her home during the Great Burning, the loneliness of being different among her own kind. And Thora had witnessed everything that made Elena who she was, her childhood struggles, her passion for science, her secret fears and deepest hopes. They had emerged from that sharing irrevocably changed, their bond deeper than any human relationship Elena had ever known. The memory of it still sent shivers through her whenever their eyes met, as if some invisible current now flowed constantly between them. Matriarch Cathal stepped forward, her midnight scales gleaming with ceremonial oils. "The trials are complete," she announced, her harmonic voice reverberating through the chamber. "The council has witnessed. The bond is deemed worthy." A ripple of color passed through the assembled Kora, their scales shifting in reaction to the proclamation. Elena recognized the patterns now, surprise from some, approval from others, lingering skepticism from a few. "The human healer has shown courage beyond expectation," continued Cathal, inclining her massive head toward Elena. "Strength not of body alone, but of spirit. True warrior heart." Thora's scales brightened with pride beside her, the iridescent blue-green almost luminous with emotion. "By ancient right, I recognize the claim bond," the matriarch declared. "Thora of the Sunspear line and Elena of Earth are now joined in the eyes of the clan." From a crystal vessel, Cathal withdrew 2 small Kaltar stones, similar to the one Thora had first shared with Elena months ago aboard the rescue ship. These, however, pulsed with inner light, seeming almost alive in the matriarch's clawed hands. "These bond stones will unite your life forces across any distance," she explained, presenting one to each of them. "Joined now, forever resonating, even when the stars stand between you." Elena accepted the stone with reverence, feeling its warmth pulse in time with her heartbeat. When she glanced at Thora, she saw that her companion's eyes shimmered with emotion. "What say you, claimmates?" Cathal asked. "What path will you forge together?" This was the moment they had discussed extensively during their preparation for the third trial, the intimate bonding ritual that had confirmed what both already knew in their hearts. Their future could not belong to one world alone. "We will build a bridge," Thora answered, her English now nearly perfect after weeks of intensive practice. "Between Kora and human worlds. New alliance, stronger than old divisions." Elena stepped forward. "I propose a permanent diplomatic exchange. A Kora delegation to Earth, and human scientists here on Korathak." She paused, meeting the matriarch's penetrating gaze. "Starting with me. I believe my medical research could help with the crystal blight affecting your southern forests." Murmurs rippled through the assembly, not all of them positive. The idea of regular human presence on their sacred homeworld was revolutionary, perhaps even heretical to some. "Bold proposal," Cathal observed, her expression unreadable. "Council will deliberate." But Vextar, who had become an unexpected ally during their trials, spoke up from her position among the senior warriors. "The human healer saved Thora when she had no reason to do so. Risked her life during the Crystal Beast hunt to protect our warriors. Has proven her worth. Her crimson scales flickered with determination. I support this alliance. One by one, other clan leaders added their voices in support until Cathal raised a clawed hand for silence. It is decided, the matriarch announced. We accept this new path. A diplomatic exchange will begin. Her 8 eyes studied Elena intensely. You will be first human ambassador to Kora. Thera will be first Kora ambassador to Earth. Together, you will travel between worlds, building understanding. Relief and joy surged through Elena. They had succeeded beyond her wildest hopes, not just in securing their personal bond, but in creating a foundation for peace between their peoples. As the formal ceremony concluded, Elena and Thera retreated to the privacy of the garden terrace overlooking the vast crystal plains. The setting suns bathed everything in golden light, making the distant forests shimmer like oceans of fire. We did it, Elena breathed, still clutching her Kaltar stone. I still can't quite believe it. Thera's scales rippled with contentment as she wrapped a protective arm around Elena's shoulders. Knew we would. Perfect claimmates. Perfect balance. Elena leaned into the embrace, savoring the familiar warmth of Thera's scales against her skin. In the days and weeks since the memory sharing, she had found herself increasingly attuned to Thera's physical presence, the subtle shifts in her body temperature that indicated her moods, the gentle hum that emanated from her when she was pleased, the protective posture she unconsciously adopted whenever Elena was near. What happens now? Elena asked, watching as one sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the crystalline landscape. Now we begin real journey, Thera replied, her voice vibrating with emotion. Building new future. Not easy path. Elena nodded, understanding the challenges that lay ahead. There would be resistance on both sides, humans and Kora suspicious of each other, cultural misunderstandings, political complications. But they had already overcome so much together. I've been thinking, Elena said, turning to face Thera. About what I learned during the memory sharing. Your people's medical knowledge is remarkable in some ways, especially regarding regeneration. If we combine that with human biotechnology. She paused, excitement building as the scientist in her envisioned the possibilities. We might be able to develop treatments for the crystal blight and help restore parts of Korathak damaged in the Great Burning. Thera's eyes brightened. Healing not just people, but worlds. Exactly. Elena squeezed Thera's hand. It's what I've always wanted my research to accomplish. Make a real difference. And Thera will learn human ways, the warrior added. Bring Kora protection knowledge. Defense systems stronger together. As the second sun began its descent, Elena activated her Kaltar stone with the technique Thera had taught her. The crystal glowed between them, projecting a small holographic image of Earth rotating slowly beside a similar representation of Korathak. 2 worlds, Elena murmured. Both home now. Thera nodded, her scales shifting to the deep, resonant blue that Elena now recognized as her most profound emotion, one the Kora called soul peace. When I found you on Dying Station, Thera said softly, never imagined this future. Thought only of survival. Sometimes the best beginnings come from the most unlikely circumstances, Elena replied. She looked out at the alien landscape that would now be part-time home, then back to the extraordinary being who had changed everything. I wouldn't change a thing. As darkness fell across Korathak, the crystal forests began their nightly illumination, bathing the world in soft, multicolored light. In the garden terrace, human and Kora stood together, claymates and ambassadors, their bond a first step toward a new era of understanding between their worlds. And high above, unseen but ever-present, the stars watched over them, the same stars that had witnessed their first meeting amid chaos and destruction, now bearing silent witness to the promise of creation and renewal. Whatever challenges the future held, they would face them as they had faced everything since that first fateful day, together, across the boundaries of worlds, united by a bond stronger than the vast distances between the stars.